absolutely. With the help of the People Power movement and the help of the principle, people are very stern about their position. People are very stern about their voices. And so that is, I think, what you wanted to explain. And this is what we are working towards. We want you to be able to say, no, I was seated here. I am not doing anything wrong. I mean, for God's sake, people are shot on a daily, right? And the policemen are shooting civilians who are seated on the roadside. They are wasting bullets on civilians while other gunmen are killing people who they should be protecting. So you can see that the priorities are misallocated, and that is what I think the principal was explaining in his interview.
So I want to bring in Karim. I'm going to stick on this statement. Karim, he also said we want to put an end to dictatorship and install a civilian government or a civilian authority. Now here's a question. Where is the army going if civilians are in control of everything in the country?
Thank you so much for the question. But first of all, to go back to to echo what Herman was saying, the voices of the people to surpass the voice of the guns. Over the past years, we've been hearing people say, oh, if you're an activist, the first question somebody is going to ask you, aren't you scared of your life? Don't you fear to die? And activism is like, if you're not an activist, you must be submissive to the government. And if you're not submissive to the government's policies, you are going to die. So there has been that kind of fear that has been sent into people's minds, that either you sit down and we step on you, or you rise up and you get killed. So that's what the principal was talking, that's what Honorable Chagulanyi was talking about, that he wants the voices of the people to surpass the voices of the gun, so that somebody who stands up to speak up is not intimidated by the gun, because most of the times we have realized whoever has the gun speaks louder than the person who is having their own voice. To go back to what we were asked, where would the army go?
Right.
The army is supposed to be helping us in terms of crisis, not in terms of crisis with civil unrest. So they are supposed to be protecting us. They are supposed to come in when the nation is at threat of danger, when the citizens are at threat to danger by either foreign powers, insurgencies. The army doesn't even have to come out of the... You live here in the United States. Where does the army go? You walk, you meet them. Some of the army officers are Ugandans, are Ugandan Americans who you can interact with on a regular basis. It doesn't mean that once we have a transitional government, we are going to phase out the army. The army is supposed to be there, but they are supposed to be doing what the army is supposed to be doing, not what the police is supposed to be doing, not what the CMI is supposed to be doing, not what other intelligence organs are supposed to be doing. The army is there to protect the nation, not to threaten people. So it won't go away. It will stay, but we will make sure it works to protect the people and not to intimidate them.
Richard, I want to bring you in over that. Now, just within a few seconds, the historical part of whether you think it's possible the army to go out of the politics of Uganda in terms of civilianity and all that.
So let's begin here and analyze this thing properly about the army. We have been saying from 1979, I'm going to give you the history of a country very well.
Within a few seconds.
Yeah, a few seconds. President Lule was supposed to create an army that was similar to the Israeli army, the civil defense forces, where all Ugandans were supposed to be in the army. And we only have a few standby army to protect the nation. Museveni, he himself, and a little joke, refused. And that's why Lule was chased out of power. Now, many years later, after Museveni has built his own army, with his own sons and his own in-laws, and everyone is in control of everything. Now, if you see what we are saying this week, they're saying now they are going to invite all Ugandans to be part of the army, the civil defense forces. And remember, Kale Kayihura was even taken to Israel to study how the civil defense forces work. So what I think I propose to the people of Uganda, this is up to the people power and so a referendum, that the Ugandan new army should be composed of all Ugandans, like Israel. Israel has a very good working
But there
example.
are people who are not interested in joining the
No, no, no,
forces.
no, 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 no. For us to have stability in the country forever, everyone must be part of the army.
Does that match up with what Kareem and, of course, the principal of People Power, Honorable Roberts, are going to say that we want a civilian government?
Yes, a civilian government where civilians are part of the army. That can happen. You have me as an accountant, but I'm on a standby army to protect the country. Then you have a permanent defense forces for the country, protect the borders. In case anything happens, everyone joins to go and defend the country. But the army you have today in Uganda is the army of a man, one-man army, Museveni's army.
Who is the commander-in-chief, given powers by the Constitution of Uganda?
Yeah,
I want to bring you guys.
No, just wait there. The Constitution is made by the people for the benefit of the people. Look at America. We have the commander-in-chief, President Trump is the commander-in-chief of the army. Does he command the army to go and kill civilians in America? Because the Constitution bars him from doing so. That's what we need in Uganda. An army like that, not an army of someone who is in power to protect himself and who else in power.
All right, so
You see, you know, it breaks my heart when we come and talk about things ideally, you see. You know, everyone should be in the army, everyone should do this and that. While Ugandans are suffering, you imagine, okay, let's say everyone is in the army. I mean, then what? To what end? Do you want to be in the army? You see what I mean? So I think that the army is relevant, yes. But as the world is advancing, there has been less war. There's been less need for an army. So it is more the necessities of the people that hurt the people power movement, the necessities of the people that make us speak up, that make us active. You know, you would be doing something else. Kareem, you would be doing something else, right? So I don't want us to, I'm just begging that we don't get distracted by this army nonsense, while Ugandans are being shot every day, while Ugandans don't have food to eat.
That's cause for why Ugandans need to get involved in all these security issues, because they are losing lives, kids are being shot dead, and women, men, of course. So that asks for the involvement of all Ugandans in today.
No, what I'm hearing is the more Ugandans are into the military, the more peaceful Uganda will become. That's what I'm hearing from you, but that's not the case. I think you want to cultivate a culture where people can live side by side with the army. Not everybody to be an army officer, because you're creating what we call paramilitarism. And what is going to happen after everybody is doing that? We have been having a problem of small arms and light weapons in Uganda. So coupled to that, if you want everybody to be involved, everybody to be, to be an army officer, how far can that get? First of all, we have people who are thirsty and trigger happy. You've had police officers that just go off and start shooting. What structures have you tried to put in place to halt that in case that happens? So you don't want to create a big militant government. You want the government to be more civil. You want people to live side by side. I don't necessarily think that everybody should join the army, but people can go in and get self-defense courses. That's granted. But to say everybody should go to Chankwanzi and wear uniform for the army and then what? And defend themselves when what happens? You're creating a situation in a country where we are like at the verge of having a war. It's like in case something happens, you're envisioning
streets of Kampala.
You're envisioning streets of Kampala for what? Peacefully demonstrating? I have never seen a violent people power demonstration, actually. I have never. Most of the cases you've seen when Honorable Chagulanyi was going back to Kampala, when they started beating up everybody who was wearing a red beret. Nobody was fighting. Sweet Pepsi was the gentleman who just lost his life a couple of weeks
Sweet
ago. He was beaten badly.
The
Innocent guy. The journalists that have been battered by these officers. So I don't agree to the fact that everybody should be up in arms. You make it look like Uganda is at the verge of war at every time. Everybody is going to be at tension. Something is going to happen. We can live in a Uganda where everybody is secure.
All right, sure. So I want to thank you guys because I'm glad that we are still discussing the issue of what Honorable Global Chagran mentioned today. Now I want to take you a little bit to the social life. You know, we understand that security is very important. Richard suggests that people should join the army. You guys say, no, it's not going to be the best option. But let's look at what he again said. He said, we want to revive the education system and work in the health care system. Now, I want the practical part of it. We want to revive the education system of Uganda. Many people have always said that the education system trains job seekers rather than job creators. Now, I'm going to put it open. Anyone can come in. What is the practical part of it that you're going to do different from what the NRM government or what the NRM government hasn't done in the last probably 30 plus years?
Not to be corrupt. I mean, that is, I think, especially, I hope that our crowd is not a crowd that follows these issues because they won't listen in. And I hope that we have the audience who are not aware, because these things, if you've been following, they are quite obvious, right? There is one thing that made me personally affiliated, that inclined me to people power, and it is one thing: the actual following of rules and regulation, right? And that is what we've been re-echoing. If you look at health sector and education, all these things, they are in place, right? They're in place to help the people, to support the people. But the current government has decided to remove that and focus on themselves, right? Education, if it is in Mockery, if you say, it should be less tuition, you are against the government. Everything is about government, right? It's about presidency. And it has diverted us from the basic needs that Ugandans deserve. For God's sake, you travel around Uganda and you feel so lucky because you came from abroad. But when you come abroad and you move around, you feel so unlucky because what you see in Uganda for the airport, for anything you look at, it is so disappointing and frustrating. So the reason that I was inclined to the People Power movement is that the reinforcement of regulations, right? What is the background of, for instance, 15% increase in tuition? What is the role? Where is the accountability for those resources? Are the teachers getting paid? Are the professors getting paid? Go to healthcare. One of the people in Mulago have just amassed wealth in a few years that not even a big businessman in Uganda can match up to in a similar amount of time. So the level of corruption and exhaustion out of Ugandans. So basically what I'm saying is that the People Power movement, we stand for following principles and accountability and making sure that the rules are being followed, making sure that the rules are being enforced. An accountant shouldn't be that wealthy, but just accountability. And a government officer doesn't mean that you're going to extort and be corrupt and grow wealth in a few years. So it is that principle that I think he is describing, that we want the healthcare systems to work. They allocate some money, that money does what it's supposed to do. If you embezzle the money, then you have to be accountable for that. But these people walk scot-free after taking money. They are the ones that come and campaign for other people and buy voters and do rigging and do all these criminal activities in the country.
This is where I want to bring in Karim.
Yes.
Karim, is it a crime for somebody to work for the government and still be rich?
and still be rich, get rich off people, taxpayers' money. Okay, this is how I see it. Like you were asking earlier, how are we going to do it different? Look at the, let us look at few things. For instance, education. My ancestral district is Kalungu district. The budget for education in Kalungu district is 5 times less than one person who works for the State House. A person who works in State House who earns 96 million a month, the Kalungu District Education Department, do you know how much money is allocated to that? About 19 million for a full year or for a quarter of a year. 19 million Uganda shillings versus one minister or government staffer who takes home 96 million every month. So that the State House itself, it's a district. There is too much wasteful spending with State House staffers and everybody who works close to the government than the money that goes to the institutions and the money that would be going to places like the health sector, education, improving the, because if your education isn't improved, its chances are even your health. If your health is not improved, even your way of living is not going to be improved. So you look at these government institutions like the Ministry of Health, whose budget is almost feeding the top people who are supposed to receive that money. The money doesn't get to people. You saw pictures 2 months ago of Entebbe Referral Hospital, the pediatric center where our children are laid on tables. You've seen Mulago Hospital, emergency room where people get there and bleeding to death with no assistance. You've seen places like the Sorority, Mbale referral hospitals. All the things need to be revamped. But the money doesn't get to where it's supposed to go because somebody is going to walk away with a bag of money. And there are so many cases that have been cited, starting from the president's father-in-law, Sam Kutesa, who was, I think, taken almost a half of the country's wealth to himself. People like Jim Muhwezi, who took away money that was supposed to go for people with HIV/AIDS. People like the first lady, who was supposed to work for the people in Karamoja when she was a minister of Karamoja. Look at the status in which she left people. The budget of the people of Karamoja and her income per month. Her income is almost 20 times more than the people of Karamoja altogether. So those are some of the things that we are looking at as people power and trying to let people know that these things can be done better.
And
we shouldn't just immerse.
You know, you talked about the First Lady, and the First Lady is working so hard to make the education system of the country better. We have seen, at least reports say that children are performing better in high school results and primary school results. So it simply means, based on what we read from reports in Uganda, the First Lady is doing her job as a Minister of Education today. Now, you mentioned about Karamoja, but yeah, that's fine.
Did you say that's fine? You were talking from a very privileged perspective, my friend. You can't say that's fine. That's Karamoja. Those are our brothers and sisters. The problem we've been having as Ugandans is when something is not, when a problem is not to your people, it's like, that war for Kon is for the people in the north. That war in Kasese, it's for the people of Kasese. Until when it comes close to you, that's when you will know that you need a change. There was a time when people are it's people in Luero, they fought, we should, it's okay. I feel terrible knowing that I have people who are my friends who grew up 25 years of their lives on the streets in Gulu. They never afforded a home. And even integrating them into the workforce right now, or even into schools, has been a very, very hard process for them. So for us to look at it as you know, it's fine, the First Lady is doing better, but you want to look at her as a human and say, that does this person breathe the same air that Ugandans do? The amount of money that is wasted on her is more than money that goes to a full district. And that is something that shouldn't happen in 2019 or 2021.
I just want something to add. Let's say the First Lady is doing her job. Let's say the President's son is doing their job. They are taking this money for useful purpose. How do you account for the money that Catherine Kusasila and Butcherman take? You see, and Bebeku, you see, we are turning ourselves into clowns, and it is heartbreaking. The government is turning Ugandans, it's taking Ugandans for a sad ride, and that's why I feel shocked when I see Ugandans say, you see, how can someone get money that would be for those children you saw on the table and hand it to someone who is random just because they are trying to gather votes? Do you see where I'm coming from as a human being?
They have presidential advisors. I want to bring in Richard. They have presidential advisors. The president has the power to hire and dismiss.
It comes to show the president's setting, right? The president's mental setting. Eh? If you are giving these people as the attention they've been craving, you see that his priorities might be in the wrong place. As Kyagulanyi is gathering people who are intellectual, people who are trying to discuss issues, people on a policy team, people who are helping other people, who are helping put the country back together. Museveni is scattering to get connections in the ghetto to try and, remember how we used to go to offices.
Okay, for me what I was saying is this. Let's find a solution, we as people power. Let's find a solution to the country. Because when we first talked with you, when you said the army, how much money does Uganda spend on a big army like that? If we had a small army and we take all the money that we are supposed to be spending on the army and put it in an education, because what we want to see is we people power. We want to transform the country of Uganda. Wait, and I finish.
Right.
Okay, let me give you a way forward. If we took all the students, very good students from senior four, and brought them over in America, in Canada, and Britain for transformation, educational transformation, because that's what's lacking in Uganda, for the country to get out of its backwardness in the education system, come up to the international standards. Remember, the standards of education we have in Uganda is the data of the British people that left us. We're just improving day by day. But if you are supposed to come like China did in the Great Transformation, we are supposed to bring people in. It's very costly. Instead of having money spent on an army, in Uganda, buying jets, buying aeroplanes, buying
security.
The security.
The world today is affected by terrorists.
The security we need in Uganda is neighborhood security. We don't have war with Rwanda; they are our brothers. We don't have to have war with Congo; they are our brothers. We don't have to have war with South Sudan; they are our brothers. We don't have to have war with Kenya. Why would we want an army that is so superior, that has armies in Somalia? I never wanted to go that way. Let's go to this. So now, the way forward is this. After we train our people and they come back, the first way to move forward, innovation will bring the country out of the problem we have of being backward. Marketing, creating jobs. Okay? Uganda could be a regional market. Uganda is a regional market. We have to lower the taxes. We have to start sub-manufacturing by Ugandans, not Indians, not Chinese. Because if once we train them outside, we bring them back into the country, they start creating jobs that are marketable to the international standards. That's when we shall get out of the backwardness we are in. But all what we need is money. We have money that is going to come from the oil. Because currently now the law says the oil belongs to Museveni and his children forever. So we have to change all these laws so that all the money benefits the Ugandans, as Honorable Kyagulanyi said. Then the other thing he said about people coming back from America where they went. Yes, after the country stabilizes, peacefully, democracy, there's going to be the law of return. I don't know if you have ever read about the law of return. The law of return, I don't have me as a Ugandan. I was born in Ebitoke, in Muyenga. Even my umbilical cord is in Muyenga. Don't tell me that I must come back and ask you for a visa. Or I ask you for another citizenship in Uganda. No, the law of return, even my children, even his children must come freely back. As long as you have a chain to invest back in the country where you call your homeland and motherland.
All right, so I want to thank you. Now, you're read from the news that the government is trying to now take back the money. Just as I'm picking from Richard's statement, the government is now coming up with a law to take the money out of the banks that stays there, which is, redundant. I'm sure most of the money that is there is for you guys who are in diaspora who send just money back and, every single day to keep maybe for future use. Now, the government says that money is somehow redundant and it could be used for other reasons. We all know that even in the United States, when the money stays there for long, it's taken out. Does that concern you, especially you guys who eye for that big office in the next coming few years, probably 2021?
First of all, the government hasn't earned to look in those accounts. It hasn't earned the accountability to Ugandans to trust them with such monies. They have to first be accountable with what they have to start digging into people's pockets. And that's highway robbery. You cannot just wake up today and say, oh, we are going to approve getting people's money which is dormant. There is no money that is dormant. Money kept on the account. If it's a fixed deposit account, it has a way it works out itself. There are so many different accounts you can have. Money is not dormant. I find it as a way of curtailing people from the diaspora from sending money home, because there is care that money can be used in one way or the other to help in mobilizing young people to go to do outreach during the campaigns. I think that's the scare.
But people should be.
I think I think also that, you see, when you misuse money, you see, if you get a certain amount of money every month and you use your money to buy flashy cars, to buy airplanes, and you forget about your food, you reach a point where you become desperate, that you can't maintain that lifestyle, and so you start to scavenge for resources. And I think this is the situation at the moment. David, you're going to mislead the audience when you say that in the US, if money remains dormant for years, it is taken.
The states take the money out.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think so. I think that that is not accurate, actually. The opposite is accurate. If you die right now and you go back to Uganda and someone eventually finds a way to claim your assets in the US, they will. If you die with a debt in the US, 100 years later, you will find that debt. If you die and you resurrect, you'll find your debt. So don't mislead the audience. What I'm saying is that this attempt to look into people's accounts, it is scavenging. They are short. If you spend money on Butcherman, Kosasid, and Bebe Cool, there's no way you're going to have money to run hospitals. I say you don't have to be smart to see that it is obvious that these guys are in a panic mode. They are trying to find ways of grabbing onto power, which is all they've done for the past 30 years. So don't give them much. They are trying to bring policy, speak English. No, the fact is that they are struggling to find resources to maintain the lifestyle they have been living. And so they are dipping into your pocket. You're in the diaspora, David. Anyone else's pocket, our pockets. We work and send the money back home. We pay taxes both to the US and to the government. I think the diaspora should be most infuriated by this because we pay double tax. We pay tax here. You send your money. If you use mobile money, they tax it. If it goes on the account, they tax it. You buy tomatoes for your mom, they tax it. You buy fuel, they tax it. You see what I mean? So I think, and can I ride into something that is kind of diversionary? And that's why I think that for instance, the most recent Chagulanyi tour in the US and his tour in Dubai and his upcoming tour in South Africa, you're going to see that how people are very involved. First of all, we have the freedom to be involved. We are very lucky to have that. But also we are very frustrated. We are more oppressed than the Ugandans back home. Because for them, when they close their door, when KCC comes and slams your wife's door, boutique, says Toina license, slams the doors, they call you, David. They closed my door, I didn't work, send me. So that's why you see we are people who are most touched because we are most oppressed by this. My friend recently spent $80,000 buying land. Never mutunze mpeo. He was conned of that money. But being conned can happen everywhere, like I've said before. But what are the remedies? Where are the authorities you can run to? What he started is calling, my uncle is in the police, my uncle is in the army, but he's not going to recover that money. We in the diaspora are working so hard, and we are slightly part of the reason that Museveni is in power.
Recently I was talking to one of the officials back there and said that how can they work for you when you don't trust them? How can these officers in the government work when you don't trust them? Because you always blame them, especially you guys in the opposition. You always say, oh, the government is doing bad, the government is not changing anything, the government is fighting against the common man, the government is doing this. How can they help you achieve your goals when you're always standing against them?
I think the first...
Can I go for that? Go. They are not helping us. It's their responsibility to do what they are supposed to be doing. So that's why we are calling for a transition, to seek a government that will be accountable to us, to seek for a government that will be responsible for Ugandan people's needs, to seek a government that would listen. You are working with a government right now where somebody can openly tell you, oh, if you're not pleased with what I'm doing, go and hang. Such an attitude from, who is it, is Otafire? Kahindo Tafiri was once quoted telling somebody, if you're not satisfied with the way we are doing things, go and hang. The Attorney General, it was a question about land grabbing, and he told the commissioner in charge, you know what, if you are not satisfied, you can go and talk to Jesus. If Jesus is not there, so how can you trust such a person? How can you trust such a government with no checks and balances? So that's why we are seeking change. That's why, like he has said, you are seeing millions of Ugandans standing up. And for that matter, I would like to openly thank my sister, Patricia Mugisha, and team for organizing what everybody saw yesterday in the United Arab Emirates. She really did a good job bringing young people together. This is a sign that we are ready for 2021. And I think everybody home should be should be getting themselves ready. Young people are ready for change. Young people are ready for a better government. Young people are ready to be involved in the government of their own. So I congratulate my people for putting up such a wonderful event. Patricia and team, thank you so much.
All right,
I
so,
just wanted to
I want to come back
Yes.
on the issue of the Mission 2021 with you guys and People Power. But let me just go to a broader picture of President Museveni and his team. Next week on Wednesday, they are planning to have a walk against corruption. And he's very furious with corruption tendencies. He has always spoken against it. He has always worked with the people who fight against it. He has put institutions to fight against corruption. But corruption still stands. Now, like a few weeks ago, the Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament of Uganda came out and she clearly stated that over 24 billion Ugandan shillings were lost that were meant to construct Isimba Dam, or the bridge that connects a certain district to another. And when she sent the letter to the president didn't act at any, or didn't do anything against it. Now let me ask you guys, we are having a president who is so determined to fight against corruption.
Did you say he's determined?
Who is so determined to
You
fight
live
against
here,
corruption.
you know he's being looked for in New York, together with his father-in-law, Kutesa. For what? For corruption charges. They are being looked, you can't even oh my God, you're giving them gravitas that they don't have. They haven't even earned to fight corruption because they are the #1 corrupt people. They are being looked for here. The US, Sam Kutesa wants his faces here. The Southern District Court of New York is looking for him. Same as Museveni. That's why he has not appeared for any UN, whatever. He sends UN General Assembly, he sends Ruakana Rugunda because he knows he's running away from his demons. They are chasing him. So he cannot come today and say he's ready to fight corruption when corruption sits in his house, starting from him, his wife, his son, his father-in-law. Those are the most corrupt Ugandans to start with. So when you say they are going to fight corruption, are they bringing Cubans? Because they have always sort of experts to do work for them, unless they are telling us they are going to hire Cubans to come and fight. But if on the fight of corruption you have Nakadema, you have Otafire, of the Minister of Justice, you have who? Kutesa is also going to be part of that. I know he's going to be because he's everywhere. He's the godfather of the government. So I don't know who is going to do it. I want to know the team.
And you don't walk corruption off, you fight it. You don't walk and corruption.
This is an indication that the president of Republic of Uganda, elected by the people of Uganda, he is determined to fight against corruption. Now, this is just some of the things he's doing to show the rest of the young people and of course all people that it's our responsibility as Ugandans to fight against these cases. We need everybody to stand up.
I think he should resign first. If he's willing to fight for corruption, he should look into himself and say, you know what, I'm ashamed of what my government has been doing to Ugandans. I think me, my father-in-law, my wife, it is time to, that would be, I think it would be touchdown for corruption if they decide to resign. But if I don't know how they are going to fight for against corruption.
All right, so Richard, I want to bring you in. I want to stick on this point that the president is seriously against corruption.
No.
So you guys want you to convince the public that is watching you out there that what he's doing is just, kind of like a mockery, just as Denomination want to put it, and other people are saying. But I want you to convince the Ugandans who are watching you right now.
What is the first problem of corruption? Is accountability. Accountability. Uganda, we have one big government. Museveni controls everything. Remember, he appoints RDCs that are supposed to be like governors in areas. Let me give you.
Let me first step into your argument. That is the power given to him by the Constitution of Uganda.
Yeah, but the Constitution was made by Museveni himself. I was there. I was there when he was making that Constitution. That's why I'm fighting against him. We saw it in 1994, giving himself all the powers. If you see the draft Constitution of Uganda, the Odoki draft Constitution, they're totally two different constitutions. I was there, I know everything that is in the other constitution. I know what was in the bush, the proposals that were in the bush. I know. The first thing to fight corruption is small government, accountability. You cannot bring someone from the state house and give him to be the RDC of Mitiana accountable to the president in a chain. Then, who is going to be accountable to? The people of Mitiana or the people of Masaka or to the president? We have to rewrite the constitution of Uganda and give the power to small government, self-government. That's the first thing we have to do to stop corruption. Corruption will never stop with the pyramid of accountability being very tall. It has to be a small, you just go to the nearest town, you have to know the books like it is in America.
What are your members of parliament? I understand FDC has close to, I think, 12 plus or 30 members of parliament representing the political party and, of course, other independents, 40 plus. What are the oppositions in the parliament of Uganda doing? Have we seen them actively coming to stand strong on just one key point that we want to fight against corruption? We always see them moving up and down. They never get focused on one agenda. Yeah,
but most people, because we are so lucky that Honorable Chagwen came out. I'm grateful that Honorable Chagwen, sincerely speaking, most people were sleeping, they were used to the system that is happening in Uganda. Everyone is looking for something to eat. Even if he was an opposition and someone came in the middle of the night and said, I'm going to give you $1 million, you'll pay him off. That's the way it has been happening. The mouths have been paid off. So until Chagulanyi, who is unbribable, came out and said, no, we are going to fight and destroy this political system of Museveni and his legacy of being the leader forever and his sons, things are not going to change. So what are we going to do? We have to change the constitution and then form small government. Look at the land reforms. Your friend has just been cheated 80,000. You can't even trace the money, first of all. The second thing, you can't even trace how he was cheated. Because if the land if we had the land policy that favored areas of residence, for example, Arua, how can someone cheat you in Arua when the people of Arua know the exact owner of the land? But someone comes with authority from the State House of Uganda and says, this land belongs to me. The next morning sells it to someone else and it's gone. Then for you, you see that someone and then you buy the land from him because you see a title that is legitimate. So that's how you lose. But if the land reforms favors areas of residence, say Uganda, they know their land system. But this is not the land system.
I disagree with a few things.
And, like what?
I am sorry. I feel like opposition all the time, every time I am disagreeing. But I think that Uganda does not need anything outstandingly new. It doesn't need anything super bright and glittery. We don't want to lie to voters and tell them, oh, we are going to make this different and so... no. We want to tell them we are going to enforce the laws. We are enforcing the laws. We hope to enforce these laws. We hope to enforce the fact that your shop, when you're selling your tomatoes, it doesn't get locked by cases here because they are trying to get money. Your land will not be snatched. And if it is, you can come to the authorities and trust the judiciary and trust the police and trust the, the arms of government.
Can I interact with you a minute there? In a democracy, the people decide their destiny. For such a reforms to happen in a country, there has to be a referendum. You ask the people, look at the people of Britain, what they did. The people of Britain were asked, you want us to continue with the European Union? Can we go in a referendum? That's democracy I'm fighting for. Let the people of Uganda, let us give them a proposal. This is the country that is existing with Museveni, with his rule for 35 years and over. And let's see, do you want this system or you want this system? Let the people go to the voting station and vote and let us see the outcome. That's democracy.
All right, so I want to give Hamani your final take on that debate, and then I'll take you up to something different.
No, mine was to say that I think the vital thing that we kind of miss sometimes when we are discussing policy issues is rule of law and following things like constitution, things like regulations. You see, America is one of the most capitalized countries in the world, right? But they have bodies that regulate. All those bodies that you hear in Uganda that are called regulatory, they are used as siphons for corruption. So here you might, for instance, what? Let me use telecommunications for instance. T-Mobile is a private entity. AT&T is a private entity. All these mobile service providers are private entities. But they have to follow a certain regulation, right? So that if you have internet, you are free to speak about Trump however you want. You are free to speak about Hillary however you want. And also, when you pay, if you're paying, your prices don't go up because you spoke about Trump. Your prices don't go up because you spoke about Hillary. In Uganda, it is the contrary. The UCC, if you speak about Museveni, your phone will die. You won't have service. You will get blocked on Facebook. You will be tortured. They will trace you using the mobile service providers. So I think it is a rule and regulation that we lack as a priority that Uganda desperately needs, that is going to fix our country. Regulation and following. Let's talk about electricity regulation, urea, or talk about UNBS. All these regulatory bodies, they are all siphoning money and trying to impress the regime. UNBS will deem your product substandard. UNBS is the Bureau of Standards.
As you talk about UNBS and the other things, how willing are Ugandans to go by these laws?
And that is a very good question. Now that is what we should be talking about.
Go on. Can I? Yeah. I think you cannot dream beyond your exposure. You can only dream things you've been exposed to, or things that you've imagined. Once we present such a country to Ugandans, a country that is accountable, a country that has systems that work, a country where you know that my wife is pregnant, she's going to the hospital, and I know 100% she'll come out of that hospital, and the baby will come out of that hospital. If you have a country where people can imagine that, and not get pregnancy in suspense, and you're like, oh, somebody gets pregnant and they are worried. They are worried about the 9 months, and they also worried about that day. And that's their judgment day, actually, because you have 19 women every day who don't make it, out of how many who give birth every day, and you have about 300 children who don't make it every day. So once you cultivate an environment where people can imagine a health life, where people can imagine good public service systems, I think these things are achievable. We don't need grandiose policies. We don't need, I hear so many people ask us, hey, what is people power? They have basic things, basic things. Let me give you this, basic things that we need. One is food. Once people know that there is food security, it's okay. 70% of our families wake up in the morning and the first question is, what are we going to eat today? Because the question of food hasn't been solved in so many of our families.
So how are you? You've taken me a little bit far. Now let me stay with where you are.
Yes.
How are you going to make it a point that these people can wake up and say, oh, I have food today?
You have. Let me give you an example. We have people who live by the shores of Lake Victoria, our brothers and sisters in the Busoga region, where they have commercialized farming for the past 25 years. People have been growing sugar cane on a very large scale, to an extent that people no longer have places to grow food to eat. Somebody is going to feed on the same meal for a year, and the food you eat affects your health, it affects your way of thinking, it affects so many things. So we have to cultivate a culture where people know we can produce some food that is sustainable to us. Things like energy. Most of our energy, the way we make our food is from charcoal. And for somebody to cook a pot of beans, you would take a tree. So those are things that you have to open up to people. One tree is going to cook a pot of beans. So how many trees do you have to cut down? And what are the effects? What are going to be the effects 5 years from now? If you're not looking at things from that perspective, and you're going to give these people grandiose plans, oh, we are going to revamp the industrial sector, how is it going to affect foreign investors? How is it going to help the people from Bujiri?
Let me speak a little bit.
Looking for, especially from you guys who are eyeing to have this office come 2021, just in case you win. They're asking, how possible is your idea?
Look at the people of Apa.
Let me speak
What do the people of Apa need? Before you bring these grandiose policies, politics is local. Start from the beginning, start from small localities and say, what do the people of Apa need? They need to be resettled. They need their land back. So why don't you work towards getting them that security, making sure they can feed? Before you start bragging about, oh, we constructed 60 kilometers of roads. That's what? 40 miles? And somebody is going to brag that we have made 40 miles worth of, a sham road whose life expectancy is 5 years.
Can I speak about that thing?
Come in and,
okay, we have a God-given area. I've always talked about this. Always. Karamoja. Karamoja is semi-desert. What do we need? Karamoja can have... It's an area where we can cultivate for food for all Ugandans to be satisfied at a low price, even for export. What do we need? We need irrigation. That's why there was always a proposal of channeling this river Nile through Karamoja for irrigation. We can modernize agriculture in Karamoja, in northern Uganda. We are going to have food in plenty that we are going even to be selling overseas. This is solved. This is solved. This is solved.
All right,
we were talking after, for things like food, we would have to tackle each item differently. But for me, it boils down to one, regulation and accountability. We were talking the other day with a comrade, and Karim asked, what is the first question when someone who lives in a rent or in Kampala opens the curtain? And the question was, what will we eat for the day? And that is a big question for many Ugandans, realistically, right? But there is a tendency of the government to do what it is not able to contain. They attract youths from the villages and say, we'll give you borders if you vote for NRM. We'll put you in a circle if you have a friend in State House. If you qualify, if you bring a project idea, we shall support that idea. You saw Museveni going around in the ghettos, putting machines. When he leaves, the machine goes with him. He takes it to another one for videos and for, public image, to say that he is supporting the youth, But the solution to items like food, for instance, is let's start by having Ugandans settle on their land so that they can cultivate. Don't throw people off their land for sugar growers, because Uganda has places where sugar can be grown, different areas, right? Let us start by, for food. You see, they chase a family from their plantation, they take the land, give a grower. Now, the person they chased is tasked with paying for the food. Because if you can't grow it, you have to buy it. This is a basic need, right? And who are they giving the money to? You know the answer to that question, right? That is the hard question to answer. They are giving the money to this person who will go and chase the next Ugandan. And then you find people scavenging, people involved in criminal activities just to get money. Their focus diverts from what they need, which is food. They forget about their ability to grow food and start finding money. If I have money, I can buy food. If I have money, now they see David, who has money from the US, and try to extort every penny that you have. You see, issues like, let me say, energy. You just said this in Badam, the Speaker of Parliament said
how
how much.
Parliament earlier this
how
year
much was
the
stolen?
money, and towards the end, we're seeing 24 billion Ugandan shillings lost.
And
Nobody knows, but according to the sources, they tell us the money is within the ministries, but the ministries are also not clear how the money was created from the bank accounts. And
that is the question. Like when I started, I said there are two questions we have to answer. One is accountability, and one is following regulation, right? If you can trust the judiciary to be able to bring people to account for that money, Ugandans pay taxes. Ugandans pay tax. People in the diaspora.
So I want to, guys, we are almost running out of time, but let me summarize with this Mission 2021. It is almost going everywhere. We saw Honorable Robert Chagulanyi when he came to United States. It was the theme of the day. He fundraised some amount of money to go and help in the campaigns and all of that. But they have also started these nationwide consultations to find out whether Honorable Chagulanyi is the right candidate to represent people power. Now, there's some people within the opposition who are looking at this as just wasted of time. Some are saying that, well, it's benefiting Honorable Chagulanyi as an individual, but not Ugandans or the rest of other opposition leaders. What comes into your minds, especially you guys who support people power? I want to start with Karim. You were the U.S. coordinator.
Okay. First of all, the consultations are not only about whether Honorable Chagulanyi is fit for 2021 or not. Like I said earlier, politics is local. You have to get to the people from where they live and find out what their priorities are, what hurts them, what do they need to be improved. You don't come up with those things. We call it ethnocentric. You live in Kampala and then you're going to decide what the people in Apa or people in Nebi will eat tomorrow. You have to go to Nebi and consult these people. What is more pertinent to them? What is more passionate? What is the urgency that they need? So much as people have been asking us, where are the policies? Where are the policies? You can't make policies out of the vacuum. You have to get to the people and understand what exactly they need from the grassroots. So than you sitting here in Kampala or somewhere in a hotel room and come up with 10-point programs which you don't know how basically they are going to help the children who are crossing Lake Bunyonyi to go to school, which you don't know how the people in Bujiri would move from Bujiri to a nearest referral hospital. You have to be able to reach out to the grassroots and understand that the people of Kasese, what do they need after the killing of 150 of their own? What is more pertinent? What do they need immediately we take power? What do the people of Kapchora need? You have to look into all those things. That's why we have these consultations. And it's not only Honorable Chagulanyi doing it, but we have a team of different coordinators reaching out and present what the priorities from their basic localities are.
All right. So, Richard, I want you to give me your final submission, and I'll be out to you. Your final submission on whether these consultations are going to bring probably better fruits.
Yes, the consultation are going to be able to identify what Mr. Kalimutani is saying. Let's see the fairness of the law in Uganda. We want the Ugandan government, if they are listening to us tonight, to allow Honorable Chagwen to do his job allowed by the law. That's number one. The second thing is he has to go on the ballot paper. If they refuse him on the ballot paper, the people of Uganda are going to take back their own power that invested by them in the current Ugandan constitution. We have to warn them that you mess up with this policy. No, we mess up with this law in Uganda, even make other laws that prevent Honorable Chagwai from participating in his democratic right to run for the presidency of Uganda. The people of Uganda are going to claim their own power back, and they will give it to whosoever they want. That's my last statement.
All right. Herman, your final take on the consultations, you think you're going to have a better move, and you think people are going to welcome it? First of all, before you finish up, it's kind of like a compulsion where the government allowed ANT to do their consultation. So you guys in People Power are waiting to see whether the government will also allow you to go and do the same activity. Take your move.
I think that how do I respond to you? I think the consultations are going to happen. I think consultations started a long time ago. Ugandans, they are aimed, yes, you know, you might reread the headline and say, oh, they are meant to find out if Bobiwine is a viable president. But think about the sensitization component as well. Think about the mobilization component of that as well. So I think it is, I mean, you might view it, that's why I encourage people to be closer to the revolution than viewing it from outside. You might view it as checking whether Chagulanyi is viable, and you're seeing that. But if you move closer towards the revolution, if you move closer and take action in the revolution, you will find out that it is more of a mobilization, sensitization, and capacity building strategy. So I think that whether they happen or not, already I hear the youth brigade, the People Power Youth Brigade doing consultations way before these announcements on media. People are doing, people in Kalangala, the other day I was sent a People Power football soccer team list in Kalangala. People in all over the country, they are building these societies where they are talking about the issues that hurt them. They're tired of talking about you know, random things. I hear Brian White, I hear Rema, I hear what? They're talking about the things that they wake up to, that they are right in front of them. So these consultations are, I view them as capacity building. But if you're on the outside, you'll say, hey, it's an assessment of Chagulanyi.
Oh, okay. So, guys, I want to thank you so much. And to our viewers now, we have received a question of where is Sarah Joy Bakanasa? Today, she decided to be in our production department. So she's been the one running the systems today. So sorry, I want to thank you so much for doing the job. And to you guys, I want to thank you so much. Now, to our viewers who are watching us, there is always something that I leave with you before we close the show. President Museveni is leading a delegation of many Ugandans this coming week on Wednesday, 4th, in the fight against corruption. But this is not the first time that the president has done these activities. You remember in 2000 or even his earlier manifestos, he always talked about we are fighting corruption, we are going to fight corruption. But the fact is, the people within the system, the people within the State House, the people he leads, the people who are associated to him, are the most corrupt Ugandans since the country started. And they are always promoted from one post to another. Now, that is an option that you as a Ugandan who is watching a Uganda at Crossroads or who has been watching today, I can leave with you. Think about it. Is he really fighting against corruption? Or he's just doing a mockery just to pretend that he's fighting against it but not doing any activity? So I want to thank you so much. Think about it. I'm going to leave it to you and think about it, whether you will vote for him or not. It's your responsibility as a Ugandan. You have a duty to go and vote come 2021. For that, have a great week. Don't forget to go and work. If you're rich, they will not make silly decisions. If you're poor, they will do decisions that affect you. Have a great week. My name is David Bura. You're going to Crossroads. Coming up next, love, sex, and money. Have a great time. Guys, I want to thank you so much for your time. Karim, I want to thank you so much. Haman, thank you so much for always coming in. And I'm sure that our viewers have really gotten something great. So have a great time. Thank you so much.